What's good, people? T. Haynes. Welcome to the Dome Podcast, episode 62. I'm here with one of my partners, you know what I'm saying? Vague from Hip Hop Now. What's going on, bro?
Can't complain, man. It's hot as hell, but I'm not complaining. I don't want no snow. I don't want none of that sleet. I don't want any of that. So
Look, man, and you in Jersey or New York still?
Jersey.
You're in Jersey, yeah. So,
Yeah.
man, well, I'm in North Carolina, man. So it's been scorching hot. You know what I'm saying? Like to the point where my grass is gone. You know what I'm saying? Like it's pretty much brown, man. Like it's all dead in the front yard, backyard. My wife's like, we need to get some professionals to come do the yard again. I'm like, ain't no grass. You know what I'm saying? Like, what they gonna come do? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then we was in Charleston recently, Richmond recently, hot, man. Then it was blazing over in LA last month when we was over there for my wife's conference. I need some fall weather, man. I'm a cyclist. You know what I'm saying? So it's been crazy, man. How the fan? Well, condolences, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
thank you.
Your family had some things going on, man. So and I've been there, man. So definitely wanted to send my condolences to you, brother. I'm not sure if you got my message, but
no, I did, man. Thank you for the messages. Thank you for everybody on social media that sent messages. It wasn't unexpected, but still,
okay.
It has an impact for you. So,
absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. Well, blessing to your family, man. I want to make sure I say that to you before we get started, man. So man, this year, Common and Pete Rock did something, man, that I've been waiting for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And it was really taking me back to the main ingredient in 1994 when Pete Rock and CL Smooth did that album. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was waiting for an adult kind of contemporary album. I mean, I know Nas and Hit Boy have some great albums, and we'll get into some of that and some of the correlations with Common and Nas in a few minutes, man. But, when I first heard that Wising Up, Vague, man, then I heard that Dreaming, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, can they sustain this for an entire album? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Then I got a phone call from a friend of mine in the industry, and he said, I've heard the entire thing. And when you hear it, it's gonna be nuts. And I'm like, okay, you're thinking, he's cool with them, so you don't know if it's gonna be some cap going on or is it authentic. But knowing him, he don't cap too much. But I was like, we'll see, because these are big shoes to fill, man. To say, hey, it's gonna be like on some old, you ain't heard nothing like this in a long time type thing, yo. Wait till you hear it. I wish I could share it with you, man, but I can't. I promise I wasn't gonna share. I said I get it. I understand.
Right.
That album came out, babe, the other week, man. Dreaming was the perfect way to start it off, going all the way down to Now and Then. And when I tell you, it's one of the few times it happened a few times I'm totally satisfied with the album. I rode to it the entire weekend when it came out, listened to it about 4 times, I believe, and I started tweeting about it. You know what I'm saying? And then that's where the Nas correlation came, and I was like, okay, both of these guys are early 90s MCs. You know what I'm saying? And the way to still put this type of workout was pretty amazing, man. So first, I just want to start with, what was your initial thoughts when you first heard about Common and Pete Rock doing an album? Then we start hearing songs, man. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when I first heard about the album, I was definitely curious because I knew Pete Rock still, makes some dope beats. I was probably more curious about Common because he was saying how inspired he was. When I first heard Wise Up, I was like, this is the pocket. Like, this is I like, you wanted that, but you didn't know what it was going to sound like. And like you said, to your point with Dreaming, when they followed up with that, I was like, yo, I think Pete Rock just sonically is doing the perfect blend of nostalgia but new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just taking samples that looping it in some way, and that's it. It just has a vibe where you could tell he worked on it for a certain kind of rhythm. So when I first heard the songs and then the album, I was like, this is top 5 of 2024 already, because not only did we all have the same kind of expectations, it met and even exceeded those expectations in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, man. You know what's funny was I remember watching a video, a comment at some event, breakdancing and stuff. And I was like, I forgot Common be breakdancing and all this stuff like that. You know, Common is so hip hop. And then, like you said, when I heard him talking about being inspired, I was like, okay, if he's sitting down really doing it, then you start seeing the on Instagram and stuff with them being together in the studio in Pete Rock crib and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, so we know that chemistry gonna really be right because you know this is the era of people mailing it in. You know, I'm gonna mail this verse in, man. I'm gonna see, I'm gonna seeing this joint through the internet, whatever. And so there's no real energy there as far as like that foundation of teamwork. You know what I'm saying? And so when I start seeing them pictures, I'm like, oh, okay, they're doing that. You know what I'm saying? So that was a big thing because again, the correlation with Nas and Hit Boy, they were in the studio together. You know, Hit Boy showed a video of him and Nas in there. Nas listened to the beats and like, oh, I like that. And he writing, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. So Common and Pete Rock did the same thing, man. So I was excited about seeing them pictures. But then when I saw that little snippet right before Dreaming full video came out, I saw a little snippet of the beginning, like the first 45 seconds of the video. When they walked up to a little spot and, you know, he grabbed a mic, he started rhyming, and Pete Rock would come up and say, dreaming, you know, and then Pete Rock got in the background, like dancing a little bit. I'm like, oh, they got the energy right. You know what I'm saying? So then when I got the album, Dreaming, the first track on, I was like, oh, okay, that's how you start the album off. It gave you that vibe, and it gave you kind of what they expect throughout. And then you start, it goes right into like that Chi-Town Do It type joint, you know what I'm saying? And we'll get into some of that, man. But man, like I said, I have no complaints on it, man. But let me ask you this. Because I think Fortunate was one of the singles also that was released also. Do you have 3 favorite songs or any favorite songs that kind of stand out to you and like why? You know what I'm saying? You have any that just kind of stand out?
Yeah, well, one of them, Wise Up, is just getting me right in that 90s bag as soon as I hear it. Like I could care less of what Common's saying. He's just rhyming the way he should, right? Like he's in a pocket, the way he should be. The beat is hot. The whole vibe of the video was hot. Dreaming, that was another one because I love the original record there, but how he freaked the sample, and again, where you capturing the essence of that original record along with flipping it enough to make it kind of dope, you know what I'm saying, from a hip-hop perspective. The third one will probably be the track This Man, because I really like that beat, and I think Kyle Busy on that beat. It's like nothing sounds the same. You know what I'm saying? Like none of it sounds like it's the same vibe, or they retreading something they already did on another song. And when I heard This Man, I was in the gym listening to that joint. And when you gotta pull out your phone, like, yo, what record is this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So those will probably be my 3 favorite off the project.
Mine, I like Now and Then, the last track on the album. You know what I'm saying? Like that Common went somewhere else lyrically. But I'm gonna say this because I said this on Twitter the other week. Common is one of the people who really focus on that last song on his albums. You know what I'm saying? Like when you think about B and the Dilla produced It's Your World, I did an episode about just that song, breaking down the 3 verses of the verses of the song, because it's amazing to me. But he ended B with It's Your World. He ended Finding Forever, you know what I'm saying, with Misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? He was always known to end his songs his albums with those kind of deep, thought-provoking songs. And then rest in peace to his dad. His dad would also, after that song, would speak, you know what I'm saying, and give you some knowledge and give you some game. You know what I'm saying? So Common was always big on ending an album just in a wonderful fashion. So he did it again with Now and Then on this Auditorium Volume 1. I like that joint, So Many People. You know what I'm saying? So Many People, very soulful, man. I mean, that joint, A God. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
One thing that stood out, I didn't know how much I wouldn't mind hearing a Pasta News album. After hearing him, after everything that happened in their little world, just hearing him over something new, especially something Pete Rock, I wouldn't mind. hearing even if they're gonna call it De La Soul, it's just gonna be Pasanu Solo. I think he did it. He was one of the standout features for me that I didn't anticipate it being that good.
Yeah, man.
I just was surprised by it.
They performed that joint on some show about a week ago too. Pastor Noose was there performing with Common and Pete. You know what I'm saying? And again, side note, I'm a huge De La Soul fan, a huge Pastor Noose fan. Always been one of the most underrated MCs, thought-provoking MC. I mean, so many layers in the lyrics of De La Soul, especially in Pastor Noose. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. A lot of layers, man. Dude is a true genius on the mic, man. Real dope lyricist, man. But yeah, Chi-Town Do It was like track number 2, man. Like, you know, going from dreaming to Chi-Town Do It, man. So you know what? We talked about this back on the episode 1 of That Time in Hip Hop. For you guys don't know, we have a lot of episodes of That Time in Hip Hop, me and Vague, and the Cuba Links, on the Big Cuba Links episode, the jump off episode, we talked about the importance of sequencing the album. You know what I'm saying? And how songs flow. And you could tell Pete Rock didn't just make beats. It sounded like he produced the album too with him and Common. Just the way the sequence and him being a producer, he know his beats. He know what flow right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that goes back to his albums. You know what I'm saying? That he did. You know, Pete instrumentals also. Everything he did sounded right. Each song just kind of blended in the sound right together. And all his projects, to me, Soul Survivors, I always thought the songs were sequenced really, really well. Right. Pete Rock and CL Smooth albums, you think about The Main Ingredient, you think about the debut, Making a Soul Brother, and then they had the EP before that. It all sounded, nothing sounded out of place. And
he's really good at, and I never thought about this, but you just said it with Pete Rock and CL Smooth and the other things he's done, the Auditorium Volume 1. He's really good at curation. Like, he knows what this whole album needs to sound like and how it needs to flow. And I think we kind of miss that from albums. You know what I'm saying? Like, not every album, obviously. But,
and you know what, though? I think that Common, he has a gift with that as well, because just kind of streamline a little bit. His albums generally flow because he generally doesn't work with a whole lot of producers. A lot of people don't understand most of his first few albums were produced by No ID. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Can I Borrow a Dollar, Resurrection, One Day It All Makes Sense. Those are all produced by No ID. You know what I'm saying? And they were in the studio together. They were friends from Chicago. They grew up with each other. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's Dion and Rashid. You know what I'm saying? But and then also we think about the way B flowed together. B is him and Kanye. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Dilla did 2 beats on it, but he did it with Kanye. You know what I'm saying? And then Final Forever is him and Kanye. You know what I'm saying? And then I think The Dreamer and the Believer is him and No ID again. So he's done. He does a lot of albums with, like Water for Chocolate is him and Dilla. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people don't know that. Outside like maybe 2 or 3 songs, Jay Dilla did all of like Water for Chocolate with Common. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They were close, and at one point I think before Dilla passed, they were roommates. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. So he keeps a certain relationship with producers, and he generally stays in that pocket with that one producer. So his albums generally flow pretty good, because I'm sure those great producers also had an ear of, they know how they need to sound as a project. You know what I'm saying? But so this all brings me to another tweet I did. Several tweets. One, I said that Common and Nas are more close as MCs than people realize. And when I say close, I mean subject matter and the way they go about their deep lyrics. And some people are like, well, Nas a little more street. I say, well, Common is street too, but he's more poetic. He's probably more poetic in that sense, and Nas is more street poetic, and Common is more poetic street, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But they still spitting that street shit, like same way Nas is spitting about Queensbridge. Go through Common discography. He talking about the South Side of Chicago all the time. He talking about all the different gangs, his affiliation. I mean, he's been cool with them, all of that. He talks about that. You know what I'm saying? On every project, he keeping it real about Chicago. So a lot of people look at Common now, who he is now, how he looks now, and forget that the same guy that battled Ice Cube. It's the same guy who's always didn't mind, you know what I'm saying? And his rhymes, he was throwing darts at people throughout his career. He didn't say names, but he's a battle MC as well at heart. You know what I'm saying? And so, but as far as the subject matter, he could go deep. Nas can go deep. They're very introspective. You know what I'm saying? Street savvy, of course, respected by the underground and by the commercial to a degree. You know what I'm saying? Both of them again battle tested. Both of them had a relationship where their fathers were a part of their careers to a degree where, you know, Common, obviously his dad spoke of several of his albums. We can't forget that Nas' father, he played the set with the horn, sax, whatever on Life's a Bitch. Yeah. He also did the song Bridging the Gap with Nas. Right. He talked on the song. Yeah, Auditorium. He talked on the song and played instruments on the song on Street's Disciple, man. So, but as far as Common and Nas, man, as far as them being MCs, man, do you kind of see any kind of similarities with them?
I think definitely. I think Common said it, right? Like they call me Chi-Town's Nas. I think it's because they're basically both like poets. And to your point, Nas comes from his poetry is more street based, whereas Common's is the same neighborhood, but is probably a little bit more heavy on the conscious side. But there's no lack of records like The Corner or Stolen Moments and records that remind you of the same exact type of neighborhoods in different places. I think he just has that image of being more conscious than anything. But I don't think, to your point, I don't think people have paid attention to his lyrics over the years when he's talked about this a lot.
A lot.
Right.
A whole lot, man. So, yeah, you know, so another thing, too, just kind of going think about my tweets because I wanted to address some stuff. You can't type everything, you know what I'm saying? But so I did talk about that. But one thing I typed that some people had to block, some crazy Nas fans, and people who know me know, like I tweeted yesterday, Nas is my favorite rapper, people. Okay. Right. Anybody that know me online and in person know I've been a Nas fan since Live at the Barbecue. He's been my favorite rapper since I heard The World Is Yours. You know what I'm saying? Like in college, like my freshman in college. So I'm a huge Nas fan. But what I said was, when I thought about the Auditorium with Common and Pete Rock, I immediately, just human nature, started thinking about the Nas and Hit Boy run. So I did a video about that, did a couple of tweets about where I was looking at how the Auditorium Volume 1 stack up against Nas and Hit Boy. And one thing I said was, the album that gives the Auditorium to me the most competition is King's Disease 3. You know what I'm saying? Now, King's Disease 3, if you Google and look up the professional ratings, I got like a 4.5 to a 5 from almost every professional rating. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of Nas' most, as far as celebrated, you know, as far as like professional publications album. You know what I'm saying? I said that I like the Auditorium. And I'll just say, when I say Volume 1, people, anyone listening, I'm talking about the Auditorium of Common. When I say Volume 1, I said it was better than Magic 2. I said I liked it overall better than Magic 3. I say I like it better than King's Disease 1. I said I like it slightly better than King's Disease 2. That's what I said. Now, yeah, it wasn't a diss. Now, I said to me, it's on par with KD3. Both of them are exceptional albums. Throw a Coin Up. I listened to it both again night before last, and I was like, damn, I can't decide which one I like the best between Volume 1, Auditorium, and KD3. Now, there are highs on KD2. There are highs on Magic 3. I love Japanese Soul Bar. I love that Jodeci joint. I love Based on True Events, too. I play it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I love the ending of KD2. The way they Hit Boy and Nas sequenced them last like 4 or 5 songs, stellar work. But I just said overall, I said that it was on par, Common and Nas as far as KD3 and Volume 1. How do you look at? And I know people say, why y'all comparing? Just enjoy the music. I do enjoy the music. I enjoy all these albums, but it's just good conversation. But how do you look at Pete Rock and Common? You know what I'm saying? Their album versus the 6 Hit Boy albums with Nas. Can you hear me? Did it freeze up? I think you froze up.
Yeah, it froze for a second.
Yeah, I think we're good to go now.
Okay.
Did you hear what I said about the albums?
Not the last thing you said.
Okay, that's cool. So what I said was, how would you rate Common and Pete Rock Volume 1 versus the 6 Hit Boy and Nas albums?
I agree with you because I do believe it's better than King's Disease 1. And I would give it the edge over King's Disease 2. Same thing with Magic 2 and 3.
We didn't
Ma-
say about I didn't say about Magic 1 though. So
right.
also I said that Magic 1 is excellent. You know what I'm saying? But when I'm thinking of 9 or 10 songs versus a full album, it's just kind of because Magic 1 to me, excuse
It's
me,
almost like
I'm
an
thinking
EP.
EP. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I gave Volume 1 just a little edge, even though I might like 2 or 3 songs on Magic 1 better than a lot of the songs on Volume 1. But as an overall project, Volume 1 is full. It's a full album.
right,
So I had to give it
right.
a slight edge personally to me, even though I love Magic 1 and Speeches. I just played like 3 times today. But nevertheless, man, I digress, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nah, no problem. I would give King's Disease 3 the edge over Auditorium Volume 1 only because I feel like Nas's pen is stronger than
Okay.
Common. When I heard Auditorium Volume 1, my one critique was Pete Rock sounds inspired. Common sounds kind of like if you've heard enough Common, there's certain words, there's certain phrases, there's just certain things that you expect him to say. Whereas Nas was more surprising to me on King's Disease 3. Like I didn't know he had that much left in the tank.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Was it that? Because when I think about the Auditorium, like I said, I listened now and then a couple of times today also. And
Right.
Common was rhyming his ass off on that now and then. Some deep rhymes on that song. But I've heard him rhyme that deep before. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
But to your point about Nas, I think that first of all of Nas Hit Boy albums, he was rhyming his ass off, I think. But on that
right.
KD3 to me is like when he put all of it together, and I'm like, damn, he really is just as good as he always been.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like Common is like you could tell he's peak Common. He's not exceeding any expectations for me. And
Right,
it works. It works for the album. But with Nas, I started thinking about the GOAT list.
yeah,
Especially when I heard KD3, because I was like, there's no way he can be this good. It's like LeBron. It's like, how is he still that good at
yeah,
this age? And I think the other thing was I think for Common again, he dope on his album, like no mistake about it. I just think with Nas, not only was it unexpected, but I think all the different concepts and stories and
yeah,
life stories and like I just didn't expect it to be that full of an experience lyrically from him. And then Hit Boy did his thing with the beat, so
yeah.
I would give it the slight edge because of that.
So yeah, and I'm not mad at that at all. Like I've gone back and forth the last few days thinking about this episode, like which depending on what day you ask me, but I could see someone saying KD3. I mean Nas, and like I said, I did a tweet because again I'm basing some of this on stuff I've written. I did a tweet saying, well, look, we know Nas is better than Common, but Common is very, very good. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
But I don't think too many people will think. Then you have a few people in the comment section like, I think Common better. Well, the hip hop world don't believe that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
and Common is great. He's on the GOAT list. He's been in my top 15, top 20 for decades. But when we talk about Nas, we talking about the potential GOAT. He's my GOAT now. But I'm just saying, when I heard KD3 to your point earlier about exceeding expectations, people know I did the episode saying, I think he just passed my Rakim for me. You know what I'm saying? So not what Nas did. When I heard Thun, I was like, first of all, it was like RIP Prodigy, because when I think of Thun, I think of Prodigy. You know what I'm saying? I think of Mobb Deep, that whole infamous mob era and all of that stuff like that. And just real quick, I think about, like I said, back in the night, I think I told you the story and I'll be brief. Back in the 90s when Mobb Deep used to hang with the people I knew down here in North Carolina, and one of my cousins used to hang with Big Nord a lot. You know what I'm saying? So Big Nord came on my college campus, man. He kicked it with us for like 2 days, and he had some stuff going on in New York. You know what I'm saying? And he also was having an issue with Tommy Boy. So I think his joint, once he got back, his EP or something, they end up coming out about 2 years later, I believe, man. But he used to say "thun" a lot. You know what I'm saying? He was kicking it, and it made me think about. And when my LB see this episode, he gonna laugh about it because I called him. I said, man, Infamous Mob and Big Noah here at my spot. We just drinking and smoking and chilling. You know what I'm saying? So this like in '96, and he had a tape, and it had shootouts on it. It was written in like one of the songs. You know what I'm saying? He played it in my room, and because he said something, I think at the end of it, talking in the background of shootouts, I believe that was him. I remember him being so proud of Nas, and it's funny about it was written shit now, but Noah was so proud of what he had heard from Nas already about it was written because he was like, man, Nas' new album, son, it's gonna be done. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, man, I hadn't heard it because it wasn't out yet. You know what I'm saying? This is early '96. Well, but as I digress, man, it's kind of funny when I think of Thun and I think about Mobb Deep and my experience hanging out with Big Noah or whatever. But you know, you got that, you got 30, you got Reminisce, you know, you got Michael and Quincy, man. You got, a lot of concepts with this joint, man. You got WTL, Shake My Head. You know what I'm saying? Then you got a lot of several songs on there where Hit Boy changed the beat before the song, and that was just a lot of creativity from Hit Boy.
Is this the album with him and A$AP Rocky on the single?
Nah, him and A$AP Rocky is on Magic One.
That's Magic One.
Yeah, that's Magic One, I believe.
So
he got a song with A$AP Ferg on King Disease One.
That's A$AP Ferg. I thought he had a song.
That's Spicy.
Yeah, Spicy. But I thought he had a joint on King's Disease 3 that kind of had that same club feel. Maybe that was something else. I'll have this.
Yeah, the one with A$AP Rocky is Wave God. That's on Magic.
That's on Magic, right?
Yeah, because they got a video for it.
Right. Okay.
They got a video for it. But yeah, man, when you think about that, man, like, so as far as soul, though, I did say I felt like Pete Rock Common album was the most soulful album I've heard in years. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about just soul. Now, some people came back with some other albums we'll talk about in a second, but I still think it's the most soulful album of the last few years or the last 5 years. And I think for me, KD3 and Volume 1 might make it into my top 5. I did say that, definitely top 5 favorite album of the last 5 years, but maybe top 5 best albums of the last 5 years. So that's something I want to get into, man. Now, when I think about 2019 through 2023, really, it's 2024 still mid-year, but just the last 5 years of hip-hop, man, there's actually been some pretty dope albums on the low that came out. And when I started doing the knowledge, I was like, it's tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm gonna give you an example real quick of some thoughts I had. I was looking at KD3, Auditorium, Retropolitan, Michael, Big Mike. What is it? I said Big Mike. Killer Mike. I said Big Mike. Shout out to Big Mike though, but Killer Mike and Alfredo. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Then it made me think about, man, your boy been on fire for a few years too. Freddie Gibbs.
Oh, hell yeah.
Alfredo and Bandana came out the last 5 years. But when you think about some of the joints, man, the last 5 years, man, what are some that come to mind, man? It's right now excluding KD3 and Auditorium. Any other joints come to mind will be in your top 5?
Hell yeah. Eve by Rhapsody. I think that album is criminally slept on. I think it's one of the best, not only one of the best hip hop albums of all time, but especially from female MCs. I don't think female MCs down the line have done an album.
Okay, so hold on ever a minute. Let's stop there real quick. Because I have Eve down here, right here too. I wrote Eve name down as potentially in my top 5. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been battling with myself about this top 5 thing. It's kind of tough because I got like several more to talk about. But Eve is one I literally have a circle around it, vague, because it's so special to me. You know what I'm saying? And Yo, being from North Carolina, I was so proud, and Ninth was so proud of that album. He was so proud of Rhapsody. And obviously, with my relationship there, I'm like, I'm proud. You know what I'm saying? For the work that Ninth did on that album and that song Cleo with that Phil Collins joint. You know, Ninth killed that song, man.
Yeah, I remember when you told me about that joint before it dropped, and I just remember like when it came out, because I was already a Rhapsody fan.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, this is probably her best project, from the different flows she showed to the production to the concept. Like, it was perfect.
So I would say this, babe. You know, I might have to slide Eve in this top five last 5 years. And you know what? I might even have to say Eve is potentially, no hyperbole, top five female rap album ever.
I would agree.
I ain't talking about commercial. Listen, people, I'm not talking about commercial success. I'm not talking about
Right.
sales. I'm not talking about no club banger single or none of that. I'm talking about track one to track whatever. An album, a body of work, a project. There's not a lot of hip hop albums, and I'm just about from her ballad, her peers, and the females right now, ladies, or however you want to say it, people. You're not trying to offend anyone, but as far as ladies in hip hop, I don't know if I can name 5 albums better than Eve, man.
I don't think I can, because even the albums from female MCs that we always like to mention, like Light as a Rock, right? Like, I skip on that album.
Yeah.
Now, there's classic records there, but there's some records I skip. With
no, we know those other albums gonna have bigger songs, like the 2 or 3 singles are gonna be bigger. But as an album, I would say, I really like the Collage or whatever, Bahamadia album a lot. You know what I'm saying? I like Foxy Brown got big hits on her album, the Ill Nah Nah. But is it top to bottom better than Eve? I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not. Black Rain by Queen Latifah is dope. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Very dope album. That's one might be up there. And I do like hardcore. Lil' Kim hardcore is crazy.
Yeah. Like you said, there are a number of albums that are
but it's up there though. Eve is up there.
Like you said, top 5 is cool. I just think it's unfortunate because it's probably also top 5 slept on at the same damn time. So
absolutely, man.
Because not enough people talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's very true, man. No doubt. But for you said Eve, man. I just wanted to go there to give Eve his proper love or whatever, because it's definitely in the runners of one of the top 5, 6 albums of the last 5 years for sure. Any other albums, man, come to mind?
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of essentially my top 5. That's why I mentioned Eve. 20 Eve was 2019, 2020, Stove God Cooks and Rock Marciano, Reasonable Drought, which was a joint that originally I was kind of sleeping on a little bit, and when I heard it, I was like, yeah, we don't get many albums like this where you can get the boom bap beats, a different flow. You just don't get that kind of stuff anymore. Another joint I had down, speaking of Freddie Gibbs having a run, Soul Separately, was a crazy album, which was his last album, I think. I think that was his last album.
So he's in the last 5 years, he's had what, 3 albums?
Yeah, he's probably had 3 or 4. Because
we're talking about quality joints.
Quality joints, right?
I listened to Alfredo and Bandana both over the last week, and I was like, damn, them joints hot.
Yeah, and Alfredo was released. Was it the same year as Bandana? Alfredo was released the same year as another, like 1 or 2 projects he did.
Yeah, I don't think Alfredo Bandana wasn't the same year though.
Right.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, it might have been. I might be thinking about the joint he did with Alchemist and Currency. I think he released another album that same year. I can't remember which one it was though. Other joints, obviously. I mean, we said King's Disease 3, Magic was the EP. Killer Mike with Michael.
Okay.
Plugs I Met by Benny was
Okay.
released, which was
When was
pretty
Burden
good.
of Proof released? It was in the last 5 years too, right?
Yeah, it was. That might have been 2021, I think.
So then, what you're saying is you're looking at KD3, Magic, Eve.
Well, my 5 is Eve, Stove God, Reasonable Drought,
Okay.
Freddie Gibbs, Soul Separately, King's Disease 3, and Michael, which was last year.
Okay. 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 So with mine, and I'm kind of torn, but I'm going back and forth. But I do have KD3. I have Michael by Killer Mike. That joint is nuts. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You talking about a Southern classic, bro? Alfredo probably for me. I really like Retropolitan, man. Again, that's Pete Rock. And if I add my Auditorium Volume 1, that means I have 2 Pete Rock produced albums in my top 5. And I think that goes to, you know, it goes to show what Pete Rock has done in this last era of hip hop. Because the funny thing is, just earlier today, I was on a rap roundtable. You know what I'm saying? Who was talking about and Pete Rock and Primo name came up. You know what I'm saying? It was about, okay, how do you feel about Pete Rock beats over the last couple of years, as opposed to how you feel about, DJ Premier beats over the last couple of years, as opposed to how you feel about Pete Rock beats over the last couple of years, because Pete Rock beats over the last couple of years have been stellar. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to 90s producers, early 90s producers, who in 2024 is making better music than Pete Rock? You know, in terms of his peers. When you think about Retropolitan, you think about this Auditorium Volume 1, you think about other projects and other beats he's done over the last 5, 10, 15 years. I don't think nobody from the 90s, you know what I'm saying, is making those beats no more. When the last time RZA made a lot of heat? I'm nervous about this LL Cool J album. I love James Todd Smith. I hope the production is right. But like I said to some people the other day, I don't know if I'm going to get Tribe Called Quest, Q-Tip, or Kamal the Abstract. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And you know, LL talking about how, you know, this been his favorite album to make. You know, that's big shoes to say that. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, now don't get me wrong, when Q-Tip did the Renaissance back in mid-2000, that was an amazing album. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. So who else? I mean, I don't think DJ Premier, I did like the first joint with Royce the 5'9", you know what I'm saying?
Prime, yeah.
Prime. But I don't know if anybody doing like Pete Rock, man. So I don't know. Now, I also had a couple of honorable mentions.
Well, real quick. Yeah, when it comes to the 90s, it's Pete Rock. Retropolitan, Auditorium Volume 1, the joint he did with Flea Lord. I think that was in 2020.
I think so.
The beats were just crazy, and they didn't sound like a formula. Like, none of it sounds the same. None of those projects sound the same. None of the beats sound the same. I think as far as 90s producers, he's way ahead of the pack. He's more way ahead of the pack. Yeah, like Pete Rock is more like Nas now, with the still sounding inspired and make you rethink your top 5 kind of producers all the time. I think the only competition as far as producers overall would be a Hit Boy, because Hit Boy shows so much variety and continues to do so that the comparison is perfect, because Hit Boy is the only other producer right now that'll make me pay so much attention to the beat. Like, yo, I can't wait to hear what the next beat is going to be. I don't really get that with Alchemist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, it's very impressive. What you know, Hit Boy. You know what I'm saying? Definitely the young generation, he's the one right now. You know what I'm saying? The young generation, to me, and Pete Rock for the old generation, is really doing that. And one thing I said, like I said earlier on the podcast, and some people might take it the wrong way, but it's hard to keep making heat. And Premier has made hundreds of dope beats, you know what I'm saying, and legendary albums, legendary songs for GOAT MCs. But some of the last couple of beats I heard from Premier, it almost sound like someone trying to make a premiere beat. You know what I'm saying? And not in a bad way, just it ain't hitting the mark to me.
Yeah.
And which also, how is that Nas and Premier album gonna sound? It's hard to say, but we know Nas gonna come lyrically, and we know the beats will be hard boom bap beats, but how great they'll be is what I would say. Wow, man, I'm kind of nervous about, man. And I hope it pop off, man. But a few more I had that EL2 from Busta Rhymes. I thought that was a dope album. Black Thought Cheat Codes, man, was dope, man. I really like Cheat Code, and I like that Streams of Black Thought. The few he did, you know what I'm saying? I like some of those. What I put down here, I did put Burden of Proof down here. I thought it was pretty dope album. I had King's Disease 2 on here too, man, because that's a dope album. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, we talking about Nas. It's almost unreal when I think about the last 5-6 years that Nas literally had 6 albums.
6 albums.
It's actually nuts when you think about it. The first King Disease, he wins a Grammy. You know what I'm saying? But then he does King Disease 1, 2, and 3, and Magic 1, 2, and 3. I mean, it almost seemed like that didn't even happen. I mean, that's some shit that Marvin Gaye and Prince and Stevie Wonder was doing when it came to like music back to back to back. It just don't make sense that he was able to have that kind of inspiration and energy and connection with Hit Boy to stay inspired like that. And I know I went on a tangent, but this episode is about Common and Nas, so it's all relative. But it's just the fact that he did that. And for me, you know what? If we had this conversation with 20 other people, somebody might have KD3 and Magic 1 in their top 5 in the last 5 years.
I could see
and
that.
And that wouldn't be like some stand or far-fetched thing. Magic is a truly dope project.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And she's starting out with Speechless, ending with Dedication. Man, you got Woo for the Children, man. You got the Wave God on that, man. You got, man, it's some joints on that album, man. And then, of course, KD3 is an amazing album from Nas, and some may have KD3 and Nas top 5 or 6 albums. I mean, I think I had it close to that. Once you get past Illmatic, It Was Written, you know what I'm saying? Maybe even Stillmatic and Life Is Good. KD3, and some people like KD3 better than Life Is Good. And I like Life. I love Life Is Good. I'm probably the biggest stand for Life Is Good. And I don't count Lost Tapes as the album because it's a compilation of I Am songs and some other shit that leaked. So I don't use that as an album. But so when I look at it in perspective, KD3 might be in Nas' top 5 albums, and you're talking about someone who got damn near 20 albums.
I think it has to be under consideration because when you think about it, I mean, we were good with KD1, right? Like we were like, yo, Nas is back. This is dope. And KD2 raised the bar, and they said KD3 was better, but we didn't know. And again, it was another thing that I think played into not just the Nas and Hit Boy run, but even this Common and P Rock joint is the rollout. Because with Nas, it was just surprising. Like, yo, Nas has never dropped this much. And typically, if he's dropping this much, it's going to be hit or miss.
Right.
And it wasn't. Like, even when you look at Magic 2, which is probably, for most people, last out of those 6, it's still not that bad. It's just that they get 6 joints, and the other ones are just better. So and one thing
the Magic 2 is the bottom one for the 6 albums. But when you listen to a couple of joints on there, it's a couple of joints on it though.
When you go back, you kind of like, it wasn't that bad. It was, it might be the least. And one other thing I just wanted to add about the comparison with Nas and Common was when Common was saying how inspired he was by the 90s music, I'm thinking about how inspired Nas was. And Nas sounds inspired throughout all the projects, whereas Common sounds like he's just coming back home. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going to come back to what y'all know. But Nas sounded like, I'm going to take it up another level. Like you said, I'm going to make you rethink your GOAT list with this run. I could
Yeah,
only hope Common would do something like that also. So
yeah, and you know what? So that brings me back to another question that I have for you. So Common and Pete Rock called it the Auditorium Volume 1, right?
yeah.
Which obviously when somebody think of volumes, they think of 2 or 3. So I think it would be fitting for Common to do volume 1, 2, and 3. You know what I'm saying? Now, what is volume 2 by Pete Rock or is it by No ID? Is volume 2 by Kanye? Well, I doubt that. Or is volume 2 by some other producer the Common can work with? Who knows, man? But if there's going to be a volume 2, is there anyone you like to see Common work with? Now I can be biased. I can be biased real quick and say I want Volume 2 to be produced by Ninth Wonder. You know what I'm saying? Now they've been talking lately. They did a gig together. I just talked to them the other day. I want to say that they did something together at the same event and kind of performed some of Ninth had the turntables earlier this year. So they've been talking, and they also talked throughout this process with Pete Rock and all that stuff like that. So I would like the guilty of me being North Carolina. I like to see maybe Volume 2 produced by Ninth Wonder.
I'm not even mad at that because I think for me, I'm thinking like they can't mess up the flow, right? Like Pete Rock and Common already laid the foundation of what this auditorium, if it's going to be a series, what it is. And Ninth Wonder is almost one of the natural transitions from a Pete Rock sound to his sound because there's some similarity between their sounds and how they pick samples and how they flip samples. I would like that. I don't want to see him with Premier. I think honestly, I think if it was going to, like, I would say Ninth, and I think if they were going to do a trilogy, you either go back to Pete Rock or you go No ID.
Yeah, you know what? That might be interesting, Vay, to think about Volume 1 Pete Rock, Volume 2 Ninth Wonder, Volume 3 No ID to bring it back home since No ID is the one who did Can I Borrow a Dollar for You?
Right.
Your debut album. Yeah, man, I'm gonna tweet something out like that after I post the episode, man. I think that's good conversation to have, man, because I think it keeps things in line with Common a soulful dude. You think about a lot of the soulful joints on B and Final Forever, and I was listening to Real People the other day from B, and I'm like, wow, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what Common does. He's a jazz soul type of person. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it makes sense for him to do that, man.
To your point earlier, those three are producers. Like, they'll produce the record.
They will.
You know what I'm saying? They'll think
they'll see it all the way through.
Right. It won't just be, here's a bunch of beats, do what you do.
No, that's not what they do. Matter of fact, just on a personal tip, Knife like to have his hands on it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like for this stuff, when we stop recording, I'll tell you about some stuff coming up. You know what I'm saying? I think it's gonna be interesting to be cool. You know what I'm saying? But some people like to put their hands on the pulse of the project. You know what I'm saying? Like not just I'm gonna say some beats, man. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of real producers, they don't want to do that because they think that's lazy. And that's why people used to have a hard time with Dr. Dre because Dr. Dre wants you to be in there. He gonna be like, oh yeah, that was cool, but say that again. Right. Say that again. You know what I'm saying? Like, so and I remember when Ninth did a couple albums with Buckshot. Buckshot was coming down here to North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? They was recording together. You know what I'm saying? So that's just one of them things where I'm always big on an MC and a producer actually been together in the studio. Now I heard through the grapevine, Nas and Premier, I think they doing some work together at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Which hopefully that'll give them the right energy and stuff like that.
I mean, one could hope because to your point, what I'm most fearful of with these two is that it's not even going to happen because Premier's beats have become predictable. Now
Yeah.
he'll have one or two here and there where I'm kind of like, okay, I kind of like the sound he used on this one and blah blah blah. But to your point, for what Hit Boy just did with Nas, the variety, the switch ups, the how unpredictable tracks were.
They
You know what I'm
were.
saying?
I have to say that.
Like the only thing to me is if they just go full on New York state of mind. Nas is like yo, we are purposely making that boom bap album that shit
Can
is
he
like.
do that? Can Premier do that now?
I've heard, like, I'll say this one thing. I always forget the name of the damn record. Premier produced a song for Benny's group, what is it, Black Soprano Family?
Yeah.
Not that long ago. And that beat was the first time where I was like, oh, that's a little bit different from his
Yeah.
typical formula. I think Premier just has to be inspired or threatened in some kind of way, like not Nas threatening him, but like, yo, people saying my beats ain't hitting like that, and he needs to stay with Hit Boy, or he watching what Pete Rock is doing with Common, and
Yeah.
he gets inspired because
Because they all in silent competition with each other for fun. It's all sport. You know what I'm saying? So if
and
anybody
they did with Illmatic. You know what I'm saying?
listen, you know DJ Premier has listened to that Common and Pete Rock album several times.
Yeah. You know what makes me afraid though is when you hear him talk, he just sounds way too comfortable. Like everything is I'm happy to be here, you know. Oh, such and such called me, and I was like, okay. Even in the video where Nas is like, yeah, new album with Premier, and Premier's like, oh yeah. It's like, dog, you ain't locked in, man. What you doing?
And I'm hoping that's just his personality, and I hope you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? But it's one of those things where, and on a side note too, you know, the selfish part of us, like, okay, the Nas and Premier album coming, right? We know it's gonna come probably this year. It probably come around Nas' birthday in September. It's probably almost done. You know what I'm saying? Right. But man, I'd love to hear the way Pete Rock in his bag. I'd love to hear Nas and Pete Rock do an album together. But he said, no, I don't know why Premier act like. I mean, Pete Rock act like that. You know what I'm saying? Premier album still might happen. So, but you know, he gave him a shout out. I want to say maybe the anniversary of Illmatic or something like that on IG or something like that. He did give Pete Rock some love in the caption and all that too. I don't know their relationship, you know, nothing like that. I ain't heard anything, you know, different like that, man. But it'd be great to hear Nas over something. I mean, because imagine Nas over the Auditorium beats. Now, shout out to Common because it's great. But I'm just saying, imagine if Nas over 15 tracks like that with Pete Rock.
That's what I'm saying. It's like Pete Rock has the inspiration that Nas has. Those two together, the way they're inspired, that might be a top 5 all-time Nas album.
And it probably would be, man. And, you know, it's going to be interesting. Nas' next project, Common next project. I'm interested in both of them, man. Very happy about what both of them have done at this stage in their career. You know, how many guys from their era is making music like this. I don't just mean, I'm talking about making top tier. I mean, what Nas has done in these last couple of years, where's his peers at? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, obviously, during his era, his biggest peers was Pac and Big, you know what I'm saying? And then Jay came on, of course, Richmond, that is a classic and all that. But, you know, 96, he wasn't famous yet. 97, he was getting his look. 98, he became a big star with DMX and all that. So Jay ended up being Nas' peer, but before that, it was just like he said on Ether, Pac, Nas, and Big. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, both of those brothers are gone. Snoop was his peer, but a different type of rap. So you never really compare them. Someone who could have been on their level, but solo career didn't pan out was Method Man. He had the whole package. Method Man couldn't do it. Redman couldn't do it. Nobody could keep up outside of Jay-Z. Who can keep up with Nas? You know what I'm saying? And right. To me, it's like he on the mountain by himself now because Jay-Z ain't released that since 444. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and I don't think Jay-Z's that inspired to do anything
I
like
don't
that.
think so.
You know, like I think with him, I mean, he basically said it in his interview with Gail, I think, where he's like, he just don't want to put out music. It has to be some kind of inspiration behind it, and I don't think he's that inspired right now to at least drop something like that. I think he wants to do something different, and
Yeah,
who knows?
and maybe so. Maybe we'll get something else, man, because it's good to see this resurgence of 90s hip hop for our taste, our flavor, not knocking none of the young folk. Everyone who rock with all the young MCs right now and young artists in hip hop, man, more power to you. I like some of them as well. But for
Right.
people our age, it's great to see what Nas Common did, and I'm looking forward to seeing other people do. I love another Jay-Z album. You know what I'm saying? And I love some more albums from some people. I mean, I love, Ghostface dropped this year. It was an okay project. I didn't love it, but I thought it was okay. You know what I'm saying? And LL is dropping this year, man. I'm excited about that and scared. You know what I'm saying? So who else? There's somebody else dropping too. Master Ace had a dope album that came out. And he's been dropping great music really his whole career. Master Ace never really missed. You know what I'm saying? So, I heard, Smith and Wesson got an album, I think, coming out. So it's good to hear these 90s guys, man, dropping more music, man. And 2024 is a big year for a lot of 90s MCs, man. So I'm looking forward to it. What's your thoughts?
I think like you said, Master Ace has just been doing this for a minute.
My goodness, hasn't he?
Right. So it's kind of expected. I think as far as high profile MCs from back in the day, LL is probably the most anticipated, especially because he's older. And to your point, like, I've liked the songs I've heard, but I didn't go crazy for the beats. I just thought that they kind of met the expectations. Like, okay, yeah, this is Q-Tip. This sounds cool. LL in the pocket. But who knows what the whole album's going to sound like. And I think I think the main thing is with Nas and Hit Boy, they just were higher profile. Like Hit Boy for the fact that he's younger, right? So there was a whole nother energy coming with him. And then Nas kind of has a younger audience, especially now, that also checking for him, that kind of like heightened the whole thing. So it wasn't just us being hyped, like, yo, this new Nas or this, he got 6 albums, blah, blah, blah. It was like young people going crazy also. Whereas with Common and Pete Rock, I feel like not enough young people even know Pete Rock.
Yeah.
So like they're probably discovering Pete Rock based off of his album. And I don't know if we do know. Common doesn't have the same profile as an MC mainstream wise as Nas. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and Hit Boy helped a whole lot, man. You can think about when they did the song Spicy, you know what I'm saying? Hit Boy being young and got his ears and the pulse to a younger generation. So Hit Boy introduced Nas to his generation, and Nas introduced Hit Boy. I know he was already doing this thing, had niggas in Paris and all that stuff, but I still think that Nas brought Hit Boy to his fans, to Nas fans.
He did.
Yep. So it worked out, man, and so I'm looking forward to the Nas Primo album. But hopefully, if that don't work, I'm not mad if Nas circle the block with Hit Boy again. You know what I'm saying? If they can do something on the level of KD3, I'm not mad.
Yeah, I mean, like, giving it time, Hit Boy doing his thing, he doing stuff with other people. Like he's kind of over there doing something different. Nas trying to tap in. He trying to give the fans what they want with the premiere joint. But honestly, if you really want to go there, oh wait, am I completely frozen? Hold on.
Yeah, you sound fine, but yeah, it just froze up a little.
My phone battery died. I was trying to fix the joint, but couldn't charge it. Yeah, I think like it's gonna have to be some surprises with this project. It can't just be Nas and Premier. Like maybe
you can go back and if you really want to be creative, Or if you want to do some nostalgia, you can have AZ on the track. You know what I'm saying? You could, if you want to really make it interesting for fans now, you can have New York State of Mind Part 3 be the first track on it after like an Illmatic type intro with him talking to Jungle and AZ and all of them, and then you go into New York State of Mind Part 3. You know what I'm saying? Now you can have a song with AZ on it. You know what I'm saying? You can have a song with Q-Tip singing the hook or some shit like that if you really want to do that. Or you can spice it up with, I don't know, maybe have a track with Raekwon. They always been cool. He's going to do something different, I think. Be good to mix it up. Now, I don't know about going too left field. Or maybe you have a Lauryn Hill on the song. He's the only person who can get Lauryn Hill to come outside. You know what I'm saying?
Look, he hot right now, and you never did a song with him. You get Kendrick on some of them Premier beats or one of them.
Yeah, man.
I know he would do it.
That'll be dope. As far as Common, like we talked about, maybe Volume 2, I'd love to hear him and Knife do it. Volume 3, bring it back home with No ID. And as far as features, I don't know, man. Like it wouldn't be bad to hear a couple of features on Common album. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's probably where they would need to go next.
Maybe Mos or Pharaoh or Talib or something. Some of his usual suspects. Maybe have something like, a reunion with the Black Star and have like a Respiration Part 2. You know what I'm saying? Or something crazy like that, man. Or a track with Black Thought. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, some of his usual suspects, man. I think that could turn out pretty dope for Common.
Yeah, I'm just hoping. I know they probably do a deluxe that'll have some extra songs or whatever, or the one song that they didn't put on an album. Trying, I think it was called something.
Yeah, I think that's the one, man. Why didn't that make the album?
It's crazy because that was the first one we heard.
Yeah, that was the first. That's the one I was thinking about earlier. That is the first one, man, and that was a dope song, man.
Yeah, they might be lining up for a deluxe, somewhere down the line.
Yeah, and I wonder also, real quick, man. I wonder how many songs they actually recorded. Like, do they have 4, 5, 6 more songs just sitting there that that they're gonna put on Volume 2, or they just don't know what to do with them, and at some point they leak. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I'd be very. But you know what's crazy about that? If we hear like 4, 5, 6 songs, whatever, that didn't make this album, several, we're gonna be like, now why is this not on the album?
Right.
And that's how it is when you did so much great work. Because I remember one time, and I ain't gonna hold you too much longer, babe, but I remember one time, I think it was an interview with Havoc, and I think the Quiet Storm was the last song they did for that album. And I think this person interviewing was like raving about the song. He was kind of like, yeah, I thought it was okay, but I made like 1,000 beats, you know what I'm saying? So he didn't look at the Quiet Storm beat the way fans do, and sometimes producers don't, because they have so many beats.
Yeah, I could see Common and Pete Rock like probably having way more songs than what was presented to us, because that's kind of how Nas and Hit Boy were doing. They were just rolling since the pandemic, and that's why they knew like KD3 is better, because we just got tons of songs. But I like with the Havoc joint, I think what he underestimated was when that joint leaked, when it was just Prodigy, and we knew a Prodigy solo was coming, and just the way Prodigy opens that,
he killed that joint.
You know what I'm saying? Like it had a certain mystique to it that it was like, yeah, you may feel like the beat is such and such, but this is like prime Prodigy, prime Mobb Deep feel in this whole track.
Yeah, it really was, man. That's one of the greatest joints ever, man. But well, look, man, like I'm looking forward to the rest of 20. Man, let me ask you this: anything outside of Nas and Premier, anything else you expecting to be dope this year? Are you looking forward to?
I want to hear this Snoop and Dr. Dre, because
God, that's the one, man. I hope they bring it home, man. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I like Dog Pound new album, dog.
Oh, that's one of my top 5 of the year, easy. Because
Dog Pound new album. For anybody listen, check out Dog Pound new album, yo.
Right. Yeah, you know why? Because just the whole vibe, right? That West Coast has been on, right? Dog Pound album was crazy. Then this whole thing with Kendrick happened. And then, you know, everybody from the West dropping or whatever. The DJ Quick compilation is actually dope. Kind of slept on too.
I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. Like I hadn't heard it, and somebody told me I should listen, and I went and listened, and it was crazy. But one thing about Snoop, he drops a lot of albums. Sometimes they're hit or miss, but every time he's done a record or a couple of records with Dr. Dre, it's like it's Doggy Style all over again. Like
they don't miss together.
They don't miss together. And you talk about a whole album?
I'm gonna tell you something, man. That could turn out very special.
Yeah.
Snoop and Dre in 2024, they can do it, man. They can do it.
Yeah, because Tone, real quick, when you think about it, the last time Dre did an entire Snoop album was Doggy Style. Since then, it's been, you know, sprinkled here and there. Like, you know, he did some stuff on The Last Meal and some other No Limit stuff. I think Dre did a couple of tracks.
Yeah.
Blue Carpet Treatment, like the Dre songs on there, crazy.
Yeah, especially that joint Imagine.
Right. So I can only imagine that they're watching all of this stuff, and then what he's done with Marsha Ambrosia. Like, there's some
that album was crazy.
Yeah. The first listen, I was just kind of like, oh, I didn't know this was going to be like a hip hop joint. Second listen, like, you know, I gave it some time because, you know, you watching everybody talk about it on social media, you kind of get influenced. Man, I listened to it like on a Sunday when I was running some errands. I was like, yo, this is one of the best produced, concept, singing, engineered. Like, this album sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Top 5 of the year for R&B for me, for sure.
Absolutely, man. So yeah, that would be the I was trying to think about earlier the other old school artists, and that it was Snoop and Dre. It escaped me, but it was Snoop and Dre. Well, look, man, tell everybody where they can find you at, man. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, you can follow me on social media at Vegas World INC, like you see on the screen right there. Any platform or whatever. Check out my podcast, Hip Hop Now Podcast. Available in audio form everywhere you get podcasts, but also on YouTube at Hip Hop Now Pod. It's a weekly hip hop news and perspectives podcast. And also on that same feed, me and Tone from time to time will jump in the bag and do That Time in Hip Hop, which is a podcast. We got like over 70 something episodes about moments in hip hop, reflections, a lot of facts about certain moments in hip hop, including this whole Drake and Kendrick battle, along with other stuff like Wu-Tang Forever and Raucous Records that we did this year. And obviously there'll be more. So
yes, sir. Well, look, man, episode 62, man, had a good time, man. Hold on for a minute, my brother. Peace, people. We out.
Peace.